Welcome to today's episode of Scrapbook TV. Today I'm going to be talking about the toolbar, which is this bar here on the left in Photoshop. If you are using Photoshop, then this will be very easy. This is CS6. Any of the recent from the cloud would be very similar to this, but even if you're in Photoshop Elements or a different program, there are probably things from this that will apply, that you will learn, and that will help with all of that. So first of all, we're just going to start here at the top. This little arrow here is kind of the it's kind of the main one I use if I'm going to move something around. So for example, if I'm going to add an element to this, let me just quickly find something. We'll just add our little reindeer on here. Okay, so here we go. So now we've got him here on our layer, and using this arrow I can move him around. And that's kind of the main part of this element, or this arrow. It's called the Move tool, so it does exactly that. You can also get to it by pressing V, and this will turn into the Move tool. So, very simple one, but I use it all the time, and it's nice that it's right there on top. The next one is the Rectangular Marquee tool, and you notice it has a little arrow next to it. That's because you can pull down a menu. If you right-click or just hold down, it will show you the rectangular, elliptical, single row, single column. So for example, if I wanted to make a circle shape and make the marching ants in a circle for whatever reason, I would use that, or the rectangle to make it square. So it comes in handy for a lot of different things, cropping, different things like that. The next one, again, we have little arrows. So we have the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool, and the magnetic lasso tool. So let's start with the lasso tool. And with this one, you can just draw around a shape and get the marching ants that way. So if I wanted to, crop it or create something, as we go into more and more tutorials, you'll hear me talk about the marquee tool. This is what it is, or not the marquee tool, sorry, the lasso tool. In the polygonal lasso tool, this one lets you click a point and then click another point, click another point. If you were going to outline something, this just gives you a little more control, like that. And again, when you close it up, you get the marching ants. And the last one is magnetic, and this just kind of clips to your item. It's not perfect, but it definitely helps a lot. So you can kind of get a little crazy, and to be honest, I rarely use the magnetic tool. I'm sure there are times for it, but that is not one in regular scrapbooking I use often. The next is the quick selection tool. This is great if you're trying to collect a certain color. So let's pretend that I wanted to change this brown to be a different color. Now I've selected this part, and it did a pretty good job of getting all the way around. And now I can hold Shift, sorry, and click up top to add it to it. And we'll add one more. There, now it's given the marching ants. So if I was wanting to change the color, which again we will go more in depth about things, this has to be rasterized before I can change any color. I can make it black and white just as a quick example. And there you have it. So a good way to do that, to capture a lot of similar colors in a photo or anything like that, is to use this quick selection tool. You also have the magic wand tool, and I'm just going to go back and change our colors back and deselect everything. Here with the magic wand, it's very similar. So I click on the red, it captures the red. I can do select similar, and it will grab all of the other similar colors, so the red, in there, and put the marching ants around it. Again, if I wanted to delete it, if I wanted to change the color, anything like that, that's the tool that I would use. Okay. Next we have the crop tool. Very simple. It helps crop things down. You can move it around once you get your square, but that's what the crop tool is. Don't crop. This here is your eyedropper tool. It's good for matching colors. Really great if you're using a photograph and you want to match colors to it. This tool we will use a lot. So here we have, especially when we get into photo editing, these are all of the spot healing brush tools. And I'm not going to go over them right now, but this is where you find a lot of your, it's a little bandage, so it's just a great way. This is where you're going to fix photos and do a lot of photo editing on things. This is your paintbrush, and up here you can have different brushes that you might use to paint. And quite simply, that's what that is. And again, we'll get more into that. This is the clone stamp and pattern stamp tool. Not a lot of use for this in digital scrapbooking. If you get into designing, you will learn more about that one. History brush tool, not one you'll really need to use. The eraser and background eraser, magic eraser tool. So again, we'll go more in depth in these, but this is just the eraser. So if you want to, erase something, much like its name, that's what it is there for. This adds the, if we wanted to add a layer and pour in a color. This is the paint bucket tool, so this is where we can add layers of color or use it for different things. This one is the blur tool, sharpen tool, smudge tool. These we'll also use in photo editing. And I'm going to kind of skip the next couple because they're not ones you're going to really use in scrapbooking. The text tool you will. You've probably already used this if you have been doing much, but you can draw space and type in your text, and you can make changes to it in the option bar, but I'm not going to go into that today because I'm going to do a separate tutorial about the option bar, which is the bar up at the top. But the T there, that's where you do all things with text, and you can do different ways, do it upside down, do it up and down, vertical, things like that. This is your path selection tool, not one that you'll use a lot. There's the path and the direct selection tool, not one you'll use a lot for digital scrapbooking. This is your shape tool, and you will use this one. It creates different shapes. Fill, stroke, we'll go more in depth in that at a later date. And the last one is the hand tool or the rotate view tool. So if you want to rotate your view, that's the rotate tool. Oops. And the hand tool just moves kind of your whole thing, not just one layer. And it doesn't actually move anything, it just helps if you were wanting to zoom in, which is Command or Control plus, and then once you were in, you were wanting to work on a certain area, the hand tool helps you move across to do that. So if you were wanting to move it over, that's how you do it. And the next one is the zoom tool. So again, you can do it with Command plus, or you can click on the zoom tool and or zoom out. I'm trying to, I'm not sure how with the zoom tool how you zoom out. I always use Command or Control minus or plus to do that. But so there you have it. These are just a few of the ways that you can use. Oh, and this here is your color, background, and foreground color. And these here get into masks, which we will talk about at a further date. But kind of the main things that you'll use on your toolbar in Photoshop, those are what those are. Thank you, and we'll see you here on another day.